Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to some Toronto Raptors breaking news. That's right, we have a Toronto Raptors news update, and it's a sad one. It's we're breaking back this animation for it right here, but Ishmail Wainright, the next PJ Tucker, the guy that you and I were most excited about probably on the core unit of bench guys coming into preseason. Obviously didn't get the most run, but did show some promising moments. He was the guy that you and I sort of expected to be a lock, and then it was Decker and Bonga to be fighting for that last roster position. But nonetheless, Wainright has unfortunately been cut from the roster, and really after the emergence of Sam Decker, particularly in that last game, and Bonga's just raw potential, his size, and just the court awareness he's shown, even if he didn't have any breakout games, you couldn't really go wrong with this selection because all three guys were legitimate NBA players. But still, what's your initial reaction to this right here?
You said at the beginning, they didn't see the PJ Tucker in him. And it is a bit surprising because PJ Tucker has crafted himself basically a starting role on every NBA team that he's played over the past 7 seasons, just by being a defense and rebounding and corner three guy. He never averages more than 5-6 points a season per game, right? And he really and he doesn't fill up the stat line at all, but he's a valuable piece of a successful NBA lineup because of how he can guard the best player out there on the offensive end and then take the pressure off of our other players and leave them room to do their work when the Raptors are on offense. So it's a surprising one, but I agree with your assessment. Bonga does show a lot of potential, even though he had those 4 fouls and we thought he wrote himself off in that final preseason game. Nevertheless, he could develop, but it's low risk because he's the 15th guy at the end of the bench.
Yeah, and the reason, because obviously we made it known that I think we were both in agreement that Sam Decker and Ishmail Wainright were our favorites sort of going into it, who we were most excited about, right? Especially Decker after that remarkable final game performance. But Bonga kind of writing himself off. I remember we made jokes about Ishmail Wainwright's air ball in one of his final shots in the fourth quarter, that maybe lost him the spot, but maybe it did because of how close this run was. I think Decker solidified himself. We knew the three-point shooting was elite coming into this season, given the fact that he shot 45% from out there over in Turkish League, and then obviously looked a bit uncomfortable dribbling the basketball, finishing in the lane for the squad right now. But when you can just go on fire like that, you're going to find a 14th, 15th spot on an NBA bench. And then Bonga, right? Even though I think Ishmael outplayed Bonga and showed a little bit more on the defensive end, I think the size and the mobility and the things from Bonga just gets you excited. And the age difference, Ishmael Wainwright still is 27 years old, even though he hasn't really played NBA games, so he'd still be a rookie in these sorts of things. And even though Bonga's been in the league a few seasons, has bounced around to different teams, he's still in his early 20s. So the significant age difference, the size, it left a little hope there for Ishmael. He had to really show out, and I guess he didn't perform at the level Masai Ujiri was expecting in this preseason.
That must have been it. And also the way that they've crafted this roster in the offseason, it's reflected in Banton and Scotty Barnes' selection and Sam Decker and all of these guys that are now much bigger than we've historically been used to on the Toronto Raptors. So we're fully committing over to the defensive side. And when you do, you need to have better scorers around those guys, right? You need to have 3-point shooters. You need to have guys that can create on offense. So it's very obvious why Sam Decker made the team with his confidence and his knockdown shooting. And I guess, I don't know, maybe pick between Bonga and Ishmail Wainright. They expect that Bonga can do more on the court on both ends, even though it wasn't really displayed in the preseason game. So again, it's pretty low risk to the Raptors because he's the 15th guy. He's the deep bench guy. We won't expect to see him lace up unless it's those burner minutes, those trash minutes. Hopefully when the Raptors are up by 30, not down by 30, but it is what it is, and we wish the best for Wainright, but we can also celebrate that Bonga now has another shot on an NBA roster, and he seems like a nice guy from what I've seen in the post games. I certainly don't think he'll be negative in the locker room or anything like that.
Yeah, no, it's too exciting, guys. I forgot to show the actual tweet, the actual report. Ishmael Wainwright's getting waived, and he is getting a payout. He is getting a little bit of a payout, a couple $100,000 for the next couple years. So that's
a little bit.
At least he's getting some bread out
Tiny
of it.
bit of
Ishmael
money.
Wainwright, wishing him the best. I'm sure that he'll land somewhere. But Riker, you already sort of transitioned the talks into what this means for the Toronto Raptors coming up this season, right? Because it kind of makes sense as Wainwright. We thought potentially he could be the backup too. Him and David Johnson will be fighting. We thought Delano Banton would sort of be put on the back burner and these sorts of things when the summer happened. But now after preseason, even though David Johnson specifically hasn't jumped off the page, it's really Delano Banton that shows he's in the running for a backup point guard, shooting guard position. Obviously, we have Fred, Trent, Dragic, and Malachi Flynn all vying for those minutes as well. So, and Scotty Barnes, he also plays that role when he's out there on the court. So there's less of a need, I feel like, for Wainwright just being one of those smaller guards. And Bonga really showed that he was playing, looked like he was almost a center out there at times, playing in the low block, playing in the dunker spot. I know he wasn't officially listed as that as his position, but that's how Nick Nurse was sort of using him. He was a lot bigger than expected. So, and obviously Decker is more of a 3-4, one of those guys that's just a stretch big man. So, where do you see these two guys now fitting in sort of this roster dynamic? And I gotta play the animation. Do I have it here? Champagne Poppy.
All right.
Champagne Poppy. He also showed some potential ability to run with the main squad, specifically in the first game of preseason. So that lessened the need for a Wainwright. But these bigs, do you think Bonga and Decker will actually have a shot at cracking the rotation, especially with Pascal Siakam and Chris Boucher out to start off the year?
Oh man, Chris Boucher as well.
I see you writing the roster right now.
I'm writing. So Boucher somehow slipped my mind. The thing is, no, I don't see them playing. I'm so low on Malachi Flynn, which is really disappointing because everybody else is very high on him. But we're assuming that the starting lineup will be Fred, Gary Trent Jr., OG, Pascal Siakam, whose timeline to return has been shortened or condensed now. They said he could be back in a matter of weeks rather than months. Yeah. And Precious Achiuwa. That seems like it's going to be our starting lineup. Maybe flip Dragic into that starting lineup, which is contradictory to what we want to see happen for Gary Trent Jr.'s development purposes. But Nick Nurse said it might end up happening. And Scotty Barnes, right? But Scotty Barnes, I really want to see him and OG in tandem, right?
Yep.
But let's assume he's not going to make the starting lineup this season. We still have Malachi. Sorry?
At least to start the year.
At least the first half, first third, whatever. Mm-hmm. Then we have Malachi Flynn, who's everybody's saying is a lock for the backup 1. Dragic is a lock for the backup 2. Svi Mykhailiuk has played his way into the roster with how he can score his
hearts of Raptors fans.
He absolutely did. And Ben, I thought he was a shooter. This man, he's a shooter. He's a slasher. He can finish above the rim, which is very surprising. He had the confidence to do it all. Consistency maybe isn't there. But anyways, Scotty Barnes, I forgot all about Boucher, and we still have Khem Birch. So that's 6 out of the 5 bench spots. And now we're talking about Decker, Bonga, who am I missing?
Delano Banton.
Champagne Poppy?
Banton. All right, yeah.
There's a depth issue on the Raptors. And where does Decker specifically fit in that? Bonga doesn't. Champagne doesn't. Right? Banton probably doesn't. But Decker could. Right? Let's say Malachi Flynn plays poorly. And we're not getting that scoring spark that we want. I could see Dragic, Svi slipping up to 1 and 2. Somehow Decker putting into that or coming in at that 3 spot. It would be pretty weird, but I could see something like that happening.
Yeah. Well, when you need shooting, it can definitely be put out there. I think he'll get a similar role as to Matt Thomas had the past couple of years and end up seeing what happened. And honestly, might make a TikTok about it. Stanley Johnson was unfortunately waived by the Chicago Bulls. I wanted to report on some of that news here, even though, well, not report. Speak on a specific tweet that I read. I didn't get any insider information on it, but the Raptors have had these deep bench players that have been varying for minutes over the past few seasons, and even during the tanking year. I guess we had less so last year with filling out the lineup with Bembry and Johnson, who I like Bembry, but still didn't have that level to where you could just fill them in and have the things run as smooth as possible, right? That's why we ended up tanking. We ended up playing the kazoos. Got a few animations, gonna plug that sort of stuff there. But Riker, if you had to say one of these guys off the bench, right, before we sort of sound off and give our final goodbye to Wainright, who do you think could probably surprise people most off the bench for the Toronto Raptors? One of those deeper bench guys that aren't necessarily solidified in the rotation right now.
It would be Decker. Again, he could score his way into the rotation. Svi would have been, if we didn't get that preseason glimpse, he would have been the guy that would have surprised everyone,
Water,
right?
maybe?
And just the way he played, if they weren't televised and he played those games, right, probably earned the respect of Nick Nurse, comes out playing heavy minutes off the bench. We said, what? How is this guy getting minutes off the jump, and then immediately just be amazed by what he can do on the offensive end? Those would be my two guys. And then Dragic, of course, people have counted him down. They're still expecting him to be a trade piece towards the midseason deadline. I think it makes the most sense. You think it makes the most sense. Keep him around, especially if the Raptors are in playoff contention with the expectations that they can get out of the first round. Otherwise, sure, maybe trade him.
Yeah, it's it's all dependent on how the Toronto Raptors play this year, and we're gonna have a bunch of podcasts, bunch of videos sort of breaking down, well, definitely every game, definitely every bit of news and projecting the lineups this season. Record, the Raptors, they start up this Wednesday, so it's exciting times. We have our fantasy league draft dropping tomorrow. We got a couple of fun videos coming, so we appreciate everyone that ended up joining the channel. We have officially locked in everyone that's playing inside the fantasy league, but you can still become a channel member and get a lot of exclusive stuff that we're going to be rolling out through the course of this year. So don't feel like if you missed the fantasy league, you missed the boat or something like that. We have a lot of fun things dropping over the next sort of month or so, and we're trying to get some creative ideas. That'll be fun for everyone on all the Raptors Digest viewers, whether you're a member or not. But if you want to be a member, that helps out too. Get your merch. The link is down low in the comment section below. I gotta make this like a repetitive outro. Gotta make it a little bit smoother. But you guys,
the novelty, so it never wears off, Ben. But yeah, I don't know. Keep going.
You guys are the best for making this fire. Check out the Instagram, the TikTok, the Twitter, all that cool stuff. Riker, sound off on our goodbyes to Ishmail Wainright and wishing
Ishmail, PJ Tucker, Wainright, Mr. Baylor, Mr. New York Giants, Mr. Toronto Raptors. You've got a taste for it all, right? Pick what you have the most passion for and stick with it. You'll have a career somewhere. Maybe the Raptors again one day. Like PJ Tucker tends to come back around.
No, full circle. We drafted PJ Tucker. He was first guy. He got cut. We brought him back later on. So maybe 5 years down the line, we'll bring in Ishmael.
That's it, Ben. Cheers.